The United States is just hours away from a crucial campaign moment. At 9 p.m. in Philadelphia, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will take the stage for their first and likely only presidential debate. Debates aren't always electoral game changers, but the last one did mark the beginning of the end for Joe Biden's campaign. As in that debate, Harris and Trump's microphones will be muted when the other is speaking, just one of the many carefully negotiated conditions. The showdown will last for 90 minutes with no live audience and no prepared notes. Well, one issue that is sure to come up is abortion. Since the Supreme Court overturned the federal right to the procedure, abortion restrictions and bans have taken effect in more than 20 states. As Monte Francis explains, the issue is a galvanizing one for Democrats and leaves Donald Trump and the Republicans vulnerable.
American voters went to the polls in 2022 and 2023 and delivered victories for Democrats in major races across the country by putting abortion rights at the center of their campaigns.
We won't go back!
Democrats are hoping it works again in 2024, with polls showing overwhelming support for legalizing abortion. A vast majority of Americans, or 63%, say the procedure should be legal in all or most cases, while 36% say it should be illegal.
President Donald J. Trump.
The issue has left Donald Trump in a political conundrum. He proudly takes credit for naming Supreme Court justices who struck down Roe v. Wade. And his running mate, J.D. Vance, supports a national ban on abortion, even in cases of rape and incest. But Trump himself has taken a step back, leading the Republican Party to soften its platform and adopt his belief that the issue should be left up to individual states.
The states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state.
Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022, more than 20 states have passed laws restricting or banning abortion, particularly in the South. Last November, voters in Ohio turned out in big numbers to enshrine a right to abortion in the state constitution by a double-digit margin, overturning an abortion ban passed by the Republican legislature. Democrats see it as a sign of Trump's vulnerability in a state he won twice, in 2016 and in 2020, and also as a winning issue in Democratic races across the board.
This is what democracy looks like.
To truly protect reproductive freedoms, we must restore the protections of Roe. Because you see, what the United States Supreme Court took, Congress can put back in place.
A poll in the Wall Street Journal showed that abortion is the #1 issue for a majority of suburban women in swing states. Several states have pro-choice measures on the November ballot, which Democrats hope will drive turnout and help them win the White House.
For more on the issue of abortion rights and what to expect at tonight's debate, I'm joined on set by Monte Francis. Hello, Monte.
Hi, Allison.
Monte, Donald Trump has made a lot of conflicting statements when it comes to abortion. What exactly is his position on the issue?
Well, there's this critique of the media that we can listen to, a 2-hour rambling speech of Trump and then distill it into something coherent when much of it really is incoherent. And it has to be said that on this issue of abortion, Donald Trump has really been all over the map. There isn't really a coherent message here from his campaign. Let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Last month, he said as a resident of Florida, he would vote for a measure that would allow abortion for up to 24 weeks of pregnancy. The very next day, he told Fox News he would vote against that measure. So he has also said on social media that his administration would be, quote, great for reproductive rights. That raised a lot of eyebrows because he's using, terminology that is not really used by the anti-abortion movement. And it wasn't even really clear what he meant by that. He's really tried to play, I think, to a lot of audiences here. So I think it's important to not really focus on what he's saying here, but what his record is. And as we saw in the piece during his first term, he nominated at, 3 conservative justices who helped overturn Roe versus Wade. He said he was proud of doing that. He's bragged about his part in doing that. And despite all of these comments as of late, it's safe to say that he has been a champion of the anti-abortion movement. One thing I expect that will come up in the debate tonight is whether he supports a national, a ban on abortion. A lot of Republicans have been pushing for this. J.D. Vance supports it. He has said in the past that he does not support that. He thinks this should be left up to the states. And another thing to watch for, I think, is something that came up during that first debate with Joe Biden, which is this absolutely false claim that Democrats support what he called abortion after birth, that essentially executing newborn babies. Of course, this is something that is not happening and was not fact-checked during that first debate.
Yeah, like ludicrous comments sometimes coming from Donald Trump. It'll be interesting to see if he clarifies anything tonight. Meanwhile, what do we expect to hear from Kamala Harris about abortion?
Well, so polls show that for women under the age of 45, abortion really is the top issue for them going into this election. So I expect Kamala Harris will really try to capitalize on that. The bottom line here is this is seen as a winning issue for Democrats, a losing issue for Republicans. On the campaign trail, she has blamed Trump for eroding abortion rights. She has said Donald Trump did this. She refers to abortion restrictions that have been passed in more than 20 states as, Trump abortion bans. She also blames him for these legal challenges to in vitro fertilization and accuses him of wanting to ban the mifepristone, the abortion pill, which is part of the Project 2025 agenda written up by Trump supporters. When it comes to Harris as a candidate, she is seen as a more effective messenger on this issue than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is an 81-year-old Irish Catholic. He's reluctant to even say the word abortion. This isn't a subject that Kamala Harris feels very comfortable talking about. Back in March, she became the first vice president or president to visit an abortion clinic, and she has promised that if she's elected, she would push for a federal law that would legalize abortion across the country.
And meanwhile, Monte, abortion is actually on the ballot in a number of states that are deciding, at the local level, what the future of abortion access is going to be. How is that expected to impact the national race?
Yeah, so there are 10 states in total with abortion measures on the ballot in November. So 5 red-leaning states, 3 blue-leaning states, and then 2 crucial swing states. Those 2 swing states are Arizona and Nevada. So Democrats are hoping that this affects turnout of pro-choice voters, especially in those very crucial swing states.
All right, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Finally, Monte, the microphones are going to be turned off when the other candidate is speaking during tonight's debate. Now, that was something that the Harris campaign had really fought to change. Why is that?
That's because in past debates, Kamala Harris is seen as being very effective in sort of fact-checking her opponent in real time. That won't be possible tonight because her microphone will be off when Donald Trump is speaking, and vice versa. Those were the original rules when the candidates were Joe Biden and Donald Trump. The Harris campaign sought to change that. Donald Trump initially sort of agreed to it and then not. And then there was some back and forth between the two campaigns. And then ABC, which is hosting the debate, ultimately decided that they were just going to keep the original rules. So the mics will be turned off when the other person is speaking. Also important to note, there will not be a live audience. And with just 2 months to go, there's a lot of pressure for both of these candidates to really deliver a knockout performance.
Yeah, I know. I definitely am very interested to watch. Monte, thank you so much for that. That's France 24's Monte Francis there. And if you want to watch the debate, it is being moderated and broadcast in the U.S. by ABC News, but you can also catch it live here on France 24. It begins at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 a.m. Wednesday here in Paris.